guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about what is the difference between a degree program for medical coding and a certificate program for medical coding. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay, there is so much to this field and there's so much to learning this field, and you want to get into the right program. I've been getting the question a lot of, Blue, how do I know and what is the difference between the two? If you are in a degree program for medical coding or health information, right? There's going to be called something like that, health information. There's two designations that you can choose from. One is for the associate's degree, which is the RHIT. This is the Registered Health Information Technician. Or for the bachelor's degree, which is the Registered Health Information Administrator. It is very important that if you are deciding to go with the degree programs, that you go with a approved program so that you will be able to sit for these designations. Not all college programs are approved for this. So I will leave the link for CAHIM in the description box below. This is going to tell you, all you have to do is plug in the name of the program or the school, and it'll tell you if they have an approved program to be able to, once you complete your associate's or once you complete your bachelor's degree program, if you'll be able to sit for the degree designations or not. If it is not on that list, then you're basically holding a very expensive piece of paper. And there's really nothing that you can do once you've already gone through the program. I mean, it's like, are you going to go through it again? You know, so you have to make sure that you choose very carefully. And this approved list is going to be online. So again, check the description box for that link. So that way, all you have to do is just put in the name of your program. And if you're still confused, then you should ask the school, okay, is this approved? Will I be able to sit for the RHIA or the RHIT, depending on where you're going? If you're going with the associates, the RHIT, the bachelor's, the RHIA, okay? Obviously, having a degree is going to be much more expensive than just getting your certification. Although I will say this, certifications are quite expensive when you're paying out of pocket. And I've done videos before on how you can get into medical coding debt-free, okay? I went through a program called the WIOA. At the time I went through it, it was WIA. Now it is WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And I will leave that link in the description box below so that way you can see if you qualify. I was laid off, and that was how I was able to get funding for my school to be paid for. So there is funding out there if you really want to change your life and you want to do something different. You want to get into medical coding, but you know it's expensive. If you qualify, you may as well take advantage and get that, get those funds and get your school paid for. Because to me, I have done a lot with what I've been given. And this is a blessing for me to have gotten this certification, because now, you know, I turn around and I tell you guys about it. So I am paying it forward, and I love what I do. I enjoy this every single day. And they always say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I have said that since the beginning of my channel, and I believe it, because I feel like that's what I've been doing the last 6 years, is not really working. I've been in the field for over 10 years. But the passion ignited just over 6 years ago. So that's when I had my aha moment. And I've talked about that before as well too. But moving right along. If the program that you are looking at is a certificate program, right, they should be training you for either AHIMA, the American Health Information Management Association, or AAPC, the American Academy of Professional Coder Credentials, okay? So if they're training you for AHIMA, sometimes they'll say a CCS, sometimes they will say the CCA. So it all depends. The CCA is the entry-level credential, and that will test you on both inpatient and outpatient coding. It is considered the beginning for people who are just getting into the field. I had the CCA for a very long time. I just recently, as of March 30th this year, 2021, I got my CCSP, which is a Certified Coding Specialist, physician-based. So I'm very happy about that. And that is an outpatient credential, okay? It's It's based in the outpatient setting. So if you are going for the CCS, that is the gold standard. That is the Certified Coding Specialist. And that is a gold standard of medical coding credentials, because this is the advanced credential for AHIMA, and it is very highly coveted in the industry. And this says that you can code inpatient and outpatient, and that you are advanced, essentially. So if the certificate program is training you for the CCS or the CCA, is typically one or the other, then you know you're on the right track. Or they'll say, we'll train you for the CPC, which is the Certified Professional Coder offered with the American Academy of Professional Coders. Either one of these that you start out with is fine, because this is what employers are looking for. If it is not a credential that I just said, consider looking for some place else to go to school. Even if you think, oh, this is a cheaper program and it's enough to just get me started, you don't want to waste your money with something you're not going to be able to use. If you want to be a competitive medical coder, if you want to be able to get out there and start your career, you need to be certified with AHIMA or AAPC. There is no getting around that unless you are starting with like 0 credentials. And it does happen for some people, but it is quite difficult. And you're not going to make what a typical already certified coder would make. So if you're going to invest time, you're going to start doing that and looking into, don't cheap out and get a credential that is not with AHIMA or AAPC. Just saying, okay? You want to make sure that it is with AHIMA or AAPC, because that is what is going to be most beneficial for you. Now, I will say this also. Sometimes people go through these trade schools and they say, well, I went through the medical billing and coding program and I finished and I got my certificate. They say certificate and they don't say credential. So the credential is when you're sitting for AHIMA or AAPC. When you complete a program with a trade school, sometimes they'll give you like a diploma or a certificate that says that you completed this. This is not enough to start in the medical coding field if you're looking to be a medical coder. This will not get you far, because they're going to ask you, what credential do you have? And you have to be able to say either AHIMA or AAPC. And if you can't, they're going to ask you, okay, well, some people will say, okay, well, you have 6 months to be able to get your certification. So you want to make sure that you're already completed the program, you're about to sit for your certification, and you're looking for jobs, and then you're going to get it, you're going to get your certification, or you're going to make sure that you have your certification already, and then you're going to go out and look for jobs. So it really all depends on you. But don't get sucked into, well, I've completed my program, do I really have to sit for the credential? Yes, you do. Okay, because like I said, a certificate for completing a program is not going to get you very far. A lot of people will ask me that from time to time. They'll say, well, I completed my program. Shouldn't this be good enough to start my new career? No, because it's incomplete. It's basically like, okay, that certification is going to be the final, okay, they've mastered everything they need to know to get started. And now they have their certification. So, and with AAPC, the CPC has a -A at the end. It just means apprentice. And there's a 2-year time commitment to be able to have that. Like, you have to be working and things like that. There's the specifications on the website. But basically, you have 2 years that you're going to have this -A at the end, the apprentice. If you're working, there's also the PractiCode option where you can do that concurrently while you're working, or you don't even have to be working yet. But once you complete that PractiCode program, that is 1 year off of your 2-year time commitment for that. So if you're working a whole year and you're doing PractiCode at the same time, you can have your A removed in 1 year. And so that's supposed to be meant to like speed up the process and give you practice. Some people will ask me, hey, Blue, I got my first job. Should I do PractiCode to hurry up and get the A removed? If you already have your job and you got your job with the CPCA, then what is the point of speeding up the process? Unless you want to go through PractiCode to get more experience in coding records and things like that. I mean, that is good practice. So it is a good educational tool, but going through Practicode will not give you experience. I've heard of some people say, well, I'm going to use this as my experience on my resume. No, you can't, because Practicode is an educational product. It is not a work product. In order to be able to say that you have work experience in medical coding, you have to be able to be on production standards, and you have to be able to be put on accuracy standards as well. And with Practicode, that is literally just going through and going through the records and coding them so that you can get good practice. So that is not production and accuracy. So you want to make sure that you're being truthful when you're out there, because these employers know, and they know the little tricks and what people try to do. So you want to be very honest, because sometimes employers will say, we will take education in lieu of experience. So if you're saying, hey, I'm going through Practicode, that is always an option if that is something that employer is willing to accept. All right. So getting into the right program is key. A lot of people will ask me, what trade school do I recommend? I can't really honestly recommend a trade school. I mean, like, you know, any of the particular ones, I'm not going to mention them by name because none of them are paying me. But I will say this, I can't recommend them because I didn't go through them. If I had gone through one of these big trade schools, then yeah, I would give you guys my take on it. But I didn't. You know, I went to a school in my hometown that was a local trade school, and they basically sat me in front of a computer and said, here, learn. So that's why I always say that if I'm going to recommend anybody, it's the associations themselves, either AHIMA or AAPC. Now, I am certified with AHIMA. I have my CCSP, and I still recommend that if you are interested in looking at AAPC, then by all means, go ahead, because I am not a credential snob, number one. And number two, both associations are good. You know, a lot of people will ask me, oh, well, you know, hey, which do you think is better? I don't look at associations like, oh, this one's better, that one's better, this one's better. I look at the caliber of the coder. I don't even look at what credentials they have. You know, there's some people that are narrow-minded and they will say, oh, that person's a CCA, or oh, that person's a CPCA. I'm not listening to them. Okay, so you just dismiss somebody that you have no idea what their educational background is. You have no idea what the caliber of their coding is. So, okay, no, you don't do that. Not in this industry. You have to be willing to be open-minded when you're in this industry, and you have to be willing to learn from everyone. And everyone can teach you something, trust me. Even people who have a hard time understanding things can teach veteran coders a thing or two, because of how people look at things. You know, I've learned a lot just by interacting with my audience and interacting with everybody that emails me and things like that, and new students and people who have even been in the field I've learned from. So I learned from everybody, and I think that it's very beneficial when you allow yourself to have those moments of like, oh, okay, you know, willing to listen to others and not just kind of close your mind because you're looking at their credential or you're being impressed by a alphabet. Now, some people have an alphabet they have earned, right? They have the experience, and so to have an alphabet makes sense. But then there are others that are brand new to the field and that try to rack up a bunch of credentials because they think that it makes them look impressive. And that is simply not the case, because if you don't have experience to back up those credentials, then it becomes a problem when you're out and you're applying, because somebody may look at your credentials and think, oh, okay, well, they have all this, this, and this. Let's give them a test. And if you can't pass because you don't have the experience, again, it becomes a problem. But if you are out there and you're trying to think about, well, I want to get this credential about billing and I want to get this credential about coding, you don't have to be certified to be a medical biller, guys. And I'm telling you this as somebody who's been in the industry for over a decade. When you are getting these credentials, you have to make sure that you're thinking about the continuing education units that you may have to come out of pocket for, because not all employers offer continuing education units as a benefit of employment. I am fortunate enough that I am able to get this, but there are people out there that don't have this luxury. So you want to make sure that before you start racking up all these credentials or listening to like your instructor, you know, tell you, hey, yeah, get this specialty, get this, that specialty, and this specialty, and that specialty. Make sure that you are willing to come out of pocket for all the continuing education units that you're going to need. You can find some for free, but you can find some that are cheaper and you can find some that are very expensive. But after a while, it starts to add up, because when you think of, you know, you have to pay for continuing education units, you have to pay for your membership dues, you have to pay to renew your certification every 2 years if you're not a member. So all of these things start to add up. Just be wise about what you're choosing, because a lot of times employers, they're only asking for one credential, okay? When you are trying to add on different credentials, go through different certificate programs, make sure that it is after a time when you've had experience and you know that this credential is going to add extra value. Because sometimes when I see people with like a string of specialty credentials after their name, people are often not asking for these. And I've done plenty of job listing review videos to know that a lot of times they're looking for either the degrees, the RHIA, the RHIT, the CCS, more than anything else, they will be asking for the CCS, the CCA, the CCSP, or the CPC. So those, that is what they're really looking for. And like when you get into like the specialty credentials, like for pediatrics and things like that, you know, again, they're not really looking for those. So invest wisely in your education, invest wisely in your career. Okay, make sure that you are actually spending your money on things that's going to benefit you. If you're struggling with medical terminology, you want to make sure that you take a class in that. But anatomy, same thing. So invest where you need to so that you can get better with your knowledge base. And that's all I'm going to say on that one. But yes, that is the difference between the two. Certification program will get you on the road to getting your certifications, either with AHIMA or AAPC. And if it's not with them, then you don't want it. All right. You want to make sure that it's with AHIMA or AAPC. I cannot stress that enough, because I've heard of people getting credentials with other associations, groups, whatever, and there's nothing that what they get is not really looked for in the industry. All right. Again, they're looking for those medical coding credentials with AHIMA or AAPC. And that's all I got to say on that one. So that's my video for tonight, guys. Please like, subscribe, share, and I hope this video has helped you. So if you have any other questions about what the difference is, comment below, or check out my other videos. And because I have plenty of explain videos that I'm going to leave down in the description box below. I will see y'all next time. Bye.